views matter.
रेडियो जिंदगी 1170 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ में ईरा शो लेके आए हैं शाह पीराली लॉ शो. यस, इट्स टाइम वंस अगेन व्हेन वी आर जॉइंड बाय शाह पीराली, attorney Shah Peerally rather, who is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shah Peerally Law Group, which is based right here in Newark in California. He is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services, and he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political legal system in the US. He formed his law group to work on the causes that he feels most ardent about. The law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he helps his clients all over the US. Offices are in Newark, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. Listeners, if you'd like to get in touch with attorney Shah Peerally and his team, you could do so by calling the office number 510-742-5887. The office is in Newark, so you can make an appointment and meet them. Of course, following all the social distancing norms. All this information and more is also available on the website peerallylaw.com. That's peerallylaw.com. If you'd like to speak to him right now, if you have any question about your case or if you have a doubt, खास करके एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड इमिग्रेशन को लेके, आप अभी फोन कर सकते हैं स्टूडियो नंबर पर. अटॉर्नी शाह पीराली हमारे साथ 11 बजे तक जुड़े हैं, सो आप कॉल कीजिए ऑन 510-657-1170 पर. दैट्स 510-657-1170. We will be generally talking about immigration and the whole topic, but कोई भी सवाल आपका है, anything at all, be it about today's topic or not, do not hesitate, just call us right away. 510-657-1170. Call lines are already open. Attorney Shah, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, Ara. How are you? I'm doing okay. So we are surviving with all this. First of all, it's really kind of disturbing what's going out there in the politics front, but it's also disturbing what we are seeing with the rise of the COVID. It seems like it's never ending, and
yes,
even with the vaccines coming up, I see. And stay safe, keep all your precaution. Wear a mask, by the way. I know a lot of people don't like it, but that's one of the way many countries have been able to protect themselves. Australia have cleaned many places using just the mask. So don't underestimate the power of the mask. If it doesn't protect you, it protects someone else, and by protecting someone else, that person protects you again. So remember, wearing the mask is not an abuse of power or anything. It's just a minor thing compared to what our ancestors had to do to survive. So take it easy.
Well, the news also says that 1,707 coronavirus deaths were reported in one day, and that's the highest daily death toll in 6 months, and this just came this morning.
Exactly, and negligence, and we know who's negligent in that, and we're not going to go back and forth on that. Hopefully he'll be out. That's another issue. But before I start, I always tell people, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. And today, and of course, you can call our office if you want a private consultation, 510-742-5887. And for people who want to check our website, it's peerallylaw.com, PEERALLYLAW.com. So, yes, I just wanted to check with you if you have any questions specific, Ira. Otherwise, we can just dig in and really kind of talk a little bit about what's going on out there.
We can start talking about politics and immigration, of course, how politics also affects our immigration policies. And I will let you know when we have a caller. Listeners, once again, the call lines are open. You can call about your immigration case or doubt or question. Call us right now on 510-657-1170. Attorney Shah, I'll let you know when we have callers.
Exactly. So thank you so much. Thank you for making the show easy for me, and I really appreciate you doing the show with me. So I wanted to say special thanks and to our listeners.
Thank
She's doing an excellent job. So I really want to tell her, and I'm not saying that because I know you. It's just like your work is really good. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So now let's talk a little bit what's going on out there. A lot of things going on, and a lot more are going to happen. What's happening right now is, as you know, President Trump is really kind of acting, for me, insanely. I think he's really lost it. Or he has a bigger plan of taking over with a coup or something, but everything he's saying doesn't make sense. He claimed he won the elections, and his followers believe him, and that's their problem. And now you have most of his lawyers pretty much kind of backed off on him, because as a lawyer, people who don't know, filing a frivolous lawsuit can get you sanctioned, and the state bar can actually take can really kind of take what we call professional discipline against you. So I don't know how they're getting away, but Rudy Giuliani is the only lawyer supposed to be the hero, but the truth is that he has not argued a case for, I think, almost 30 years. He's just a lawyer on paper. So let's see. And he went to court today. I was listening, and if I do the same in court, the judge will probably kick me out in the first minute, because it's not like you're doing a speech in court. You have to come up with things that make sense. Otherwise, you're basically kind of messing with the decorum of the court, and that's really not good. And that's what he did exactly today. And I don't know how long the judge will put up with this. Maybe because he's a political figure, they're putting up with it a little bit, but that's a different issue. So having said that, now while all this is going on, Trump team, the one who are like the hardcore team, where basically they really want to pass what they want to pass, have been kind of being rushing in passing all those rules, including not only immigration, but including drilling oil in Alaska, including getting the forests basically cut down I think Antarctic is drilling oil in Alaska, cutting the forests, etc., etc. But also for immigration, if you look at so many things are being passed, like every minute, if you open the USCIS website, you will see things like, for example, now they have these pre-requirements for permanent residents applying for naturalization. They have changed the naturalization, which is the question. I have not even looked into it because so many things happening. So now things are going to be, well, not now. The thing is that, for example, that prerequisite of lawful admission, this is something, just a reminder. What basically it says is, if you obtain a green card by some kind of mistakes or fraud, and if they find out what the time when you reach the citizenship, they can really kind of take down that green card. This was there all the time, but now they're going to be more strict about it. Second thing is, we have this naturalization changing, and then also they issued a bunch of memos on the Child Status Protection Act, which basically says the underlying petition that gave you is the one that will be counted towards the Child Status Protection Act. What is the Child Status Protection Act? Is when you file for a green card and your child is turning 21, before you get that green card, that child might not get that green card. And unless they benefit from the Child Status Protection Act. One of them is if the adjustment of status, for example, if you're inside the U.S., is filed on the final action date before they turn 21, they benefit from it. But if I don't mean the filing date, the final action date, which are two different things. Okay, filing date is just like you have right now on the system, but the final action date is when the green card should be issued soon. Now, the Child Status Protection Act also allows you to subtract the time it took, for example, for the I-130 or the I-140 to get approved. The problem with it is, for I-130 usually takes some time, so you have good time. For example, it takes 1 or 2 years. You can add that to the child's age. For example, the child turns 21 in February next year. You can add those 3 years if it took 3 years to get approved. But since I-140 are usually filed under premium, guess what? You get only 15 days to add. So that was a little bit confusing because many people filed multiple I-140s. So some people think they could use the one which has longer time or at the time, but they came up with the memo specifying no. The last one that you use, basically the one that you're using to file the adjustment of status is the one that they're going to use to count those days, which makes it a little bit tricky for many children who are kind of stuck now. Their parents are going to get a green card, but they won't get it right away. So they have to wait for their parents to have a green card and then petition for them. It's really kind of sad because many of those kids are more American than most Americans. They came here when they were like sometimes 2-3 years old. They barely speak any language except English. And you hear them, they don't even have a single accent. They're almost like born here, a bit like the DACA. But unfortunately, they get stuck. Hopefully, now I'm going to say if Biden takes power now with all the things going on, if Biden takes power, we will have we will have to push the government to make some decisions on that. But there's so much on his plate. I wonder what is going to go through, what is not going to go through, because so many things has happened under the time of Trump, and reversing many of them will be difficult too. Just like Trump couldn't reverse many things Obama did, it will be hard also unless we have the court siding with us, etc., etc. So many things are going to happen after January. In fact, we're expecting a reversal in many of the decisions. For example, the first thing, very important, the Muslim ban, because it affects a lot of people from countries like Iran, etc. They can't come to the U.S. Then you have the situation of the kids being put into cages. Hopefully that will stop too. The wall, we don't know what will happen to the wall. I was wondering about that, but nobody talk about it. And they are rushing. By the way, the contractors are rushing to get paid because they're building the wall so fast. They're destroying everything which is nature, even sacred lands of the natives, just to build that wall. And that is really heartbreaking, because you're messing with people's religion, and that's very wrong, and they were not able to stop them. So we are going to see a bunch of stuff being reversed, but at the same time, what are we going to see in terms of giving to the people? Will we see the dates becoming current? Maybe for India, but I don't think it will be that current. It will get current, but probably up to like 2015, but after that there's only so much I think Biden will be able to do, because that will really put pressure on the system. But if it does, glad for all of us. But in the meantime, I will recommend people who can get an EB1 or a national interest waiver. It is important to get it. The reason to get on those two, like Sharif was saying last time, is number one, you want to have two things as a backup. And the national interest waiver and the EB1 are both self-petition. That means if you change company, you lose your job, which is going to happen a lot now because of the COVID getting really worse. If you lose your job, you still keep those. So bottom line, we need to have plan B for everybody. And I know people are really kind of getting a little bit scared. They don't know what to do. Should we stay? Should we go back to India? Should we move to Canada? Well, you have to keep all the options open. I cannot tell you not to go back, because there's no guarantee things are going to be better here, except hopefully with the new government things are going to be a little bit better. But at the end of the day, you're going to see also a lot of changes coming, and hopefully less fear. That's something that we are all hoping. And right now the fear is still there, because nobody knows when Biden will take over, because they have not actually basically passed the baton, right? They have not really done the transition officially. And there is this lady who is a one person appointed by Trump, who basically is blocking the whole thing. And the GOP was saying, oh, we won't let this happen, and then they backed off yesterday. So it seems like there's something very fishy going on, but nobody is really understanding it. The Democrats are being optimistic, while the GOP, the Republicans are being optimistic too. As for the Trump supporters, they think they won. They don't really care about anything else. So we are in a...
And now again, there's some counting issue happening. They've found some lost votes, the ones that were not uploaded or not counted, and some, by 1,000 votes have been found or something. So it's still going on.
It's still going on, and we don't know if that is enough to overturn an election because it's minor. It is what we call an immaterial error. But, Trump is, by the way, people don't know he's milking the people of their money, because if you look at the fund of defense, like the Democrats also have a defense fund. So you give the money, it goes to the lawyers to defend the case. In his case, if you look at his defense fund, on the bottom it says basically if you contribute less than 8,000, I think, it all goes to him. So it doesn't really go to the defense fund. And that's one of the reasons I think many lawyers are also backing off. They're not getting paid as usual. But at the same time, many lawyers are also worried about their reputation, losing their license down the road, etc. And they have refused to represent him. And the few lawyers that have accepted to represent him all have a kind of a past. So we need to wait and see. One of them I just saw right now is according to some report, he's under investigation. Another one, Rudy Giuliani, I think he didn't even pay his fees for the bar. So we have all those issues, not for the bar, I think for the administrative agency or something like that. So all the stuff are happening and creating more confusion, and that's creating a lot of fear. Because when I speak to my clients, as much as they don't want to talk politics, they are bringing it up. And most people from our community, honestly, they never really talk politics, to be honest. When it comes to their case, they're more busy about their own problems. But this time, no, they are really worried because they don't know what will happen, because they get mixed feelings, right? So it's... I cannot reassure you. All I can tell you, hopefully, if Biden takes, things are going to be better for sure. But there will be other difficulties that will come down the road, but we'll have to wait and see. Having said that, with Biden, we'll be more open and more transparent. We can sue if they try to abuse things. But with him, it's with Trump, even to file a lawsuit becomes a headache, and most people want to back off, because if you try to sue them and they start digging and start finding things on the client which are not really relevant, and they use it against them, it becomes very, very depressing for the people. So bottom line, now we are going to be faced with many things that we have not faced before, even during the Trump time. But hopefully in 1 year, with the vaccine, with things, we should go back on track. At least not full, 60% the country will go back on track. Probably hopefully we don't go into some kind of war or civil unrest. We should be okay. So we have to have some hope.
Absolutely. Before we go further, Attorney Shah, let me quickly remind our listeners that we are in conversation with Attorney Shah Peerally, and we are going to be, we are talking about immigration and also politics, because they do go hand in hand. So if you have any questions about immigration, if you have any questions about your case, or if you have a doubt about a policy, or your case is stuck or anything, you can call us on the studio number also, and I'll speak to Attorney Shah Peerally right now while he is on air. You can call on 510-657-1170. Please call on 510-657-1170. If you'd like to get in touch with him after the show, you could do so. For a private discussion, you can call his office number and make an appointment. Number to call is 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. During all the second wave of pandemic now, if you don't want to go physically and meet someone, you can also have a virtual appointment. Log on to the website for more information, peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. peerallylaw.com. Yes, Attorney Shah, let's continue.
Yes. So another thing we wanted to, we don't know, but we got that from Bloomberg. It's saying that there is a chance that Joe Biden will increase the number of H-1B visas or high-skilled worker visas in the country, which is welcome, because a lot of companies are struggling and they need H-1Bs. And also, hopefully, they will reduce the time like we spoke last time. We don't know how much, but we will know soon, because this is pretty much a promise. We until we see it, we won't really kind of accept it.
Attorney Shah, we have a caller over here. Let's speak to this caller. Hello, you're on air with Attorney Shah Peerally.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. My question is, a petitioner filed an I-130 for a child who is more than 21 years of age but single. And after about 7 years, the petition came through, and the interview was scheduled in India, and a day before the interview, the lockdown happened and the embassy is closed. Now, the question is, do you know when the interview date will come again? And the second question is, in the meantime, the petitioner passed away. So what happens to the case?
Okay. So we have two issues here. Number one, what you mentioned, when it will open. It just mentioned, I think, on their website they are starting to resume that. So I don't have exact timing, but hopefully they will start again in the next. But now we have this surge of COVID. It's almost impossible, because now it goes onto the medical kind of ground. It's pretty much up to them. But they say that on their website that they're going to start reopening. So one good news there. Now, as for the petitioner passing away, you have to do what we call a substitute of petitioner. So you need someone close who file that and inform the USCIS and the National Visa Center, and also at the interview inform the officer that you are substituting the petitioner. It requires some work. It's under a rule which was originally under PL 100, if I'm not mistaken. I did one like 15, 16 years ago. Well, not one. I still do a bunch of them, but I still remember this one because it was one of my first cases I did when I opened my office. So you will have to do those two. You have to do this thing, and for the dates, hopefully it should open soon. That's what they're saying on their website. So we have to wait and see.
So when the substitute petitioner is filed, so substitute petitioner is a sibling, whereas earlier the petitioner was a parent. So will that make any difference?
No, it won't make, because you're still on the original petition. All you're doing is the substitute of sponsor. So
I see.
It will still go by the parents. It won't go as a sibling. However, they have to accept the substitute. That's all.
Okay.
As long as they accept the substitute, it will just revive the old petition. Okay?
Okay.
But it has to be done properly. If you need help, just give us a call. We'll handle it for you.
I will definitely give you a call, and I'm going to note down your phone number once it is announced on the radio now.
Yes, go ahead and
sure, I will announce the numbers again, and then you can note that down. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. Listeners, अभी के लिए स्टूडियो का नंबर है 510-657-1170. But if you'd like to get in touch with Attorney Shah Peerally after the show, office का नंबर है 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887, and the website is peerallylaw.com. You can also call us right now if you have any questions. Let's continue.
Yes, thank you so much. And a very interesting question we got on the substitute. In fact, we're handling few cases like those right now. And if you want to call us for the caller earlier, 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887, we got to handle your case. Now, going back to the situation we were mentioning earlier, I also wanted to congratulate the team. There are a few things that has happened in the past week which is amazing. I don't know if it is the election that did that. We got a bunch of approvals coming in the office one after the other. We got a family petition approved, a marriage petition approved. We got a bunch of U visas approved. And for those who don't know what is a U visa is a really interesting concept. It leads actually to a green card, and many people don't even know about them. Most of my clients have done their cases for U visa, didn't come to me at all for U visa. I'll give you an example. Someone came to me and he said, Shah, I am having some problems. I'm going back to India because my visa is done now, and And also, I just want to make sure that all my things are okay. I say, okay, I was checking. And then in the middle of the conversation, he told me, he said, I just got bad luck. They didn't renew my visa. Plus, I just got attacked in the supermarket. I said, hold on a second. What do you mean attacked? He said, yeah, someone put a gun on my head and my kids are scared and all this stuff. What I did, I just went ahead and said, hold on a second, let me get the police report. So we got the police report. We filed a U visa for him. Not only he was able to stay, he got a green card through it. So it is something that is very interesting people don't know about. A U visa for people who are victims of certain crime. One of them is domestic violence. A lot of people, VAWA applies for people who are married to U.S. citizens, but U visa applies for people who are not even U.S. citizens. For example, H4 visas, F2 visas, F1 visas. Like, for example, if your spouse took advantage of you in terms of, for U visa, you have to have a police report because we have to have the police, district attorney, or some kind of agency signing on it. But ultimately what it does when you file it, it puts you in what we call a deferred action. And I'll take an example of the H4 because the H4 is something major, right? Because unfortunately, people bring their spouse here and few of them are very abusive, right? We have to admit that. This is happening a lot. And what happens is that many of those H4, they really kind of suffer because, for one, they are dependent completely on that H1. And number two, if the H1 decides to cut them off, they have to go back. And that's a flaw in the law, actually, because they allow that H4 person to get a work permit, but they don't allow them to have a status, which is kind of a little bit counterintuitive. In those cases, if you are victims of certain crimes, you are basically, you have been hurt physically, and the police were involved, and there's a domestic violence case, at least in a situation of domestic violence, you can benefit from a U visa. So what we do, we file the U visa, which keeps you here legal, although it's not a status, it's just a deferred action. You can even file an EAD on it after a couple of years, based on the deferred action EAD. And ultimately, after 6 years, they will approve it. You will get a U visa. Once you get the U visa, 3 years later, you can file for a green card. It applies for 52 crimes, I think. Okay. One of them is domestic violence. If you are assaulted with a deadly weapon, kidnap. There's a long list. I have it on the website. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll try to go over them at every stage. But if you have been victims of a crime and the police was involved, you might be eligible for that, and it leads to a green card. A lot of people don't know that. It leads to a green card, in fact, faster than the employment base now, with the wait of years. Only thing, you can't really travel with it. There are some ways you can travel with it, but you cannot really until you get the green card. But at the end of the day, you can stay. You pretty much, if you get the work permit, you can work, and then at the end, you ultimately can apply for a green card after 3 years getting the U visa. Okay. We have done many of them, and we are getting a bunch of them approved. And I wanted to congratulate the team for getting them approved. It's not an easy task because getting the police officers sometimes to sign on this has become especially during the Trump's time, they have become very reluctant to sign on those. And if they don't sign on it, you don't get a case. And that's the part where basically it's good to have an attorney helping you, and we will be glad to be the attorney to help you on those. You have any question on that you ask?
No, actually, when you were talking about the U visa and the qualifying criminal activity, there actually is a whole list, which is kind of, when you read about it, you feel it's kind of scary, but then it does cover a whole lot of activities like abduction and even blackmail or domestic violence, like you said, is probably the most prevalent one. And a lot of activities that people can read about. Listeners like Attorney Shah Peerally said कि उनकी website पे काफी सारी list है, आप पढ़ सकते हैं. So do head on to the website peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. In this country, that's the good thing. When I was reading the list, I was like, okay, you get protection over here. If there's anything that scares you, or if there's something that you have gone through, there is something that can actually, make you stay here and protect you from all those activities. Don't you think, Attorney Shah? That's a great thing, I
Exactly. That's what is great about America.
Yeah.
America has a lot of flaws. We can't deny that. A lot of things we do wrong, but there's something which is amazing here. It is the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? It is, despite all the people, all the things, and right now this is what we are fighting for against Trump, right? He wants to really take this away from us, and while he's telling people he's giving it to them. And by the way, the U visa, the interesting part of it, the irony and the VAWA was written by Joe Biden in 1992. So that law has been, so it's a very interesting situation, and now he's going to be the president. Like we say, inshallah, he becomes president. I'm really praying for that. And
but do you think things are going to change? Please, when you talk about this, when you say inshallah, I hope he becomes the president. It is scary. Like, okay, what if he's not? Why is there still the cloud of doubt?
As a lawyer, I know kind of the trade and also the tricks of the trade. Right. So there's one thing that Trump is trying to do. Okay, if we go back a little bit in time, we have to go in history to understand what is happening here. There's something called the Electoral College. We, the people, don't really vote for the president. I'm repeating that. We don't vote for the president. We vote for the Electoral College. The Electoral College has a duty to vote for the president. And it has been accepted over the years, whatever the people will, the Electoral College will follow. The problem with Trump is he is kind of putting pressure on that. Electoral College is a group of people that most people don't know them, but they are like the shadow thing. They are the one who's going to vote for that. And the law doesn't require them to vote according to what the people voted for. Understand? So that means if, for example, Pennsylvania decides to vote for Trump, they can do it. Now, their internal part of Pennsylvania have other legal issues implied because they are supposed to follow the will of the people. So there will be a lawsuit inside a lawsuit to make them abide by that. Now, it never happened where they have not done that. But it never happened also we have a Trump. So it's really, even in the worst case scenario, United States even had really some bad politicians. They never had a sorry to say that, but a lunatic, right? So now the problem is he has really kind of put people who basically kind of follow his rules, and people who are not aligned. Just like today, he fired the head of the cybersecurity of DHS, right? And the guy, because he refused to say what he wanted to hear. He's running it like a dictator, basically. So you don't agree with me. You were supposed to say it's fraud, and you're saying it's not fraud, so I'm firing you. The same happened to the Pentagon, which never happened in history. Even Nixon, who was supposed to be the worst president that have ever existed in modern times, he never done that. He was more a gentleman, right? So we have a problem faced right now. Now, if he put enough pressure on the court, it can keep telling people it's fraud, and if he creates enough doubt, the Electoral College might be confused. Just a caveat here. Whatever I'm saying here, the chances of this happening is like maybe 1%. But as a lawyer, I see it, and it bothers me all the time because I'm looking. People might think I'm a pessimist because I am kind of sometimes, because it helps. But I'm more like a realist, right? I see things in different terms like others will not see. But I'm looking at it from a legal perspective. Now, the other thing that can happen if the court reaches the Supreme Court, and we know what he has done with the Supreme Court, so they will bend over backward to get his things done according to him. I don't see really any case, to be honest, because to go into court, you have to have proof. But again, I'm not a political analyst. I just know enough to basically go on with my work. But I got very much involved because I've always been... because we, as lawyers, one of the things we take is constitutional law, right? But at the same time, if you look at political science, it's a very interesting thing, the Electoral College. The Electoral College, by the way, was set at the time when we had the Civil War. After the Civil War, when all this thing happened, the states which had slaves, kind of, they wanted to have a say, even they had a lower population. So they say, okay, hold on a second. We can't just do it like that. If people vote, then you will always have a power. But if we keep a certain number of electoral college, even our population decreases, we'll still have a right in the electorate, right? And it's a slave mentality system. But it's there, and it has never been taken down by anybody. And one of the reasons it has not taken down because Republicans has always kept. At that time, by the way, Republicans were good, okay?
Yeah.
So it changed a little bit later because Lincoln was a Republican, right? So, and later on, they never wanted to change this, and they didn't have the majority to shift that, to change it. Same for the Supreme Court. So now, what we are facing right now is some kind of quote-unquote coup, in a way, if you look at things from my perspective. But having said that, like I said, the chances of it happening is 1%. But with all the odds that have happened in 2020 has been a year where all the odds have become reality, right? So we have to be careful. Hopefully 2021 will be better. But that's why, to answer your question, you're asking why I'm saying inshallah, because we do need the help of God on this one, because there's no transition, nothing is happening, and we have COVID killing people, and if there's enough mess, Trump is going to declare some kind of state emergency. That also he can do, and pretty much take over and say, hey, you know what, nothing can happen, I'm declaring state of emergency, everything is a mess. But the good thing is that we heard General Miller last time speaking and saying, no, hell no, we're not going to just, sorry, I'm saying the bad word on radio, but he said, no, I don't want to really kind of accept any kind of orders from a dictator, quote unquote. But the truth is that how much can they disobey if you tell them it's a martial law? It's like emergency. If enough people are sick, like right now the vaccine has to be distributed and many people will refuse, so you're going to have some kind of riots going on, and you will have to, and we saw that they brought the military in places and people were very, very scared about it. If you look at it, we forget quickly, but it happened like a few months ago, right? And now who's going to be, who's the commander-in-chief? That's the question. Right now he's still the commander-in-chief. So we are going to see some really, really weird things happening in the next few months. Hopefully, my hope is that he just wants to do it for the money and to make a deal so that he doesn't get prosecuted after he becomes president. Because one of the things that he's worried about is that once he gets out, the New York attorney has already said that he's not going to let him go for fraud. And that's another thing that is scaring him a lot. And honestly, I think we should not scare him. Just let him go nicely, and then we do whatever we need to do later. That's a different story. That's my perspective. But again, just to answer your question, there's a lot of things that can happen in 2 months. Let's pray things go smoothly. It has never happened before. Well, I think in 1876 it happened once, and even that everybody stood up against that president. But this time it seems like the GOP is not really willing to stand on the side of justice. And I know a lot of people who are Republicans will get upset. I'm saying that, but that's the truth. You have to... Nobody has even done that. And that's the part which is the most scary. It's not dealing only with one person who is bad. We're dealing with a bunch of people who are bad. And like Lindsey Graham, which everybody knows him, he really made life difficult for all the immigrants, by the way. He is basically he called, I don't know, you probably heard about it, and tried to mess up with the elections in Georgia. So those kind of things never happen. It's corruption. It's like a banana republic, and we can't accept that. As a lawyer, I took an oath to protect the Constitution of the U.S. I cannot just shut my mouth and don't say anything, even if I'm not fighting the fight in court. So, and all these are going to affect definitely what we see in the future, and it's already affecting it right now. Quickly, all the rules that they wanted to pass, they're just kind of cramming them right now, one after the other. God knows how many will hold, but they're hoping that they put enough out there that it will take years to take them out. By that time, he might run again. So this is the part that we have to be worried about, because if in the next 2 months we saw like 200 of new laws passed on when it comes, or basically memos from the USCIS changing the rules, it's going to be difficult for Biden to reverse them all. Some of them will stick. For example, the one which everybody is asking me is what happens to that new H-1B rule, because companies are not willing to pay that kind of
the minimum wage
salary.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that, we were hoping there will be enough, what we call enough situation that they get, basically they get enough, how to put it, enough lawsuits that they will reverse it. But I heard there were 10 lawsuits on it, but I have not heard anything after that. And we're all hoping this will go away, because this is really kind of unfortunate, because it's killing many businesses in the times of COVID, and they need those people to work, but they cannot afford them. How are you going to afford someone? And American citizens, most of them, don't have those qualifications, unfortunately. It's not like they don't want to hire them, but they just don't have those qualifications, many of them. And those who have, they already own their own companies. They don't want to work for other people. So it is a really sad situation. At the same time, it's scary for many people. Luckily, some people were able to jump on their EADs and their employment authorization, but most people are still on their H-1B and they're getting stuck. So all those adding together is creating a lot of fear still. So the fear is not going away until we have a clear-cut win of Biden and he takes over the White House. And even then, we will still have the problem of having the Republicans controlling the Senate. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a runoff going on in Georgia, so I encourage everybody to pay attention to that, because if that runoff kind of shifts the balance, the Republicans lose the majority in the Senate, everything, I'm not saying everything will be good, but things will be a lot better in the U.S., definitely. Because over the years, nothing has passed because they have been blocking them. And even when they have a Republican president, when it comes to immigration, they have been blocking them. And we've seen this multiple times. In 2007, Bush proposed a very good reform, actually. This is one good thing he did probably in his life, this one. I'm not a fan of Bush, too. I think he's as bad as Trump. So he passed that, and they didn't accept it. They rejected it. And this was his people. Both were Republican at that time, the House and the Senate. So the truth, in fact, the Democrats supported Bush at that time. So it is what we are seeing right now is really the epitome of breaking the democracy in America. And unless we are kind of careful, we're going to see things getting really either very ugly or very good. We're not going to have a middle ground, unfortunately. So we have to wait and see. The Electoral College are going to decide, I think, on December 15 or 12. I don't remember the date, and that will be decisive what they do, because that's what nobody is talking about. They think after you finish voting, it's one man for one vote. It's not really that. You're voting only the Electoral College. The Electoral College is going to vote the president. And that's why you are seeing those 3 or 6, all this stuff. That's what we are talking about here. So there's never a guarantee they will side with what is right and reject what is wrong. So we have to wait and see again. And now, the other thing that we are seeing also, I said the good news too, right? We don't want to just look at some of the bad news. The good news is Biden did win, and we know that. Hopefully he will take power. The other good news is that we're seeing a lot of approvals coming. For whatever reason, we are seeing them coming one after the other. We got a bunch of I-140s approved, a bunch of family petitions approved, U-Visa. H-4 people are still waiting. I don't know why, but it's still getting stuck a little bit. But at the end of the day, we are seeing some good stuff coming. So let's pray things get better. And now the next step that we need to do is we need to make sure that if you have some kind of issues on your case, you need to talk to an attorney. I have someone who called me and then did a consultation, and then he went and did the case on his own, which is okay because sometimes he can. Now he made so many mistakes on it that he's trying to hire us to do the work, but the problem is that even I take the case now, I cannot fix it.
It's already so messy.
It's so messed up, and to fix that, we will have to give so much explanation. I'll have to charge him like 5 times more than what I would have charged him to do the case, and maybe more because the hours of work I'll have to put in it. So I prefer to tell him, I take the case, but will you be able to kind of bear with me and do things with me? I want to fix it, but why would you do that when you can do something right? And also, don't listen to many people will just go in forums, get the answer. I do that too. I go in forums for if I want to know about growing trees, how to build this, DIY, things like that. That's okay, but this is your life. You cannot just go in forums and just read and say, okay, I got the answer. Because the answer is not there. If it was that easy, it's just a matter of reading a bunch of law and looking, the law says that. But the law has a lot of things in it. A law is one thing. Then you have statutory law, which are the written law. Then you have case law. Then you have administrative law. Then you have USCIS interpretation of the law. So all this, if you don't really kind of mix all this to get your answer, you won't be able to get the answer because you're going to look only at one side of it. And that's where the danger is, because you will say, they told me this and I agreed with that. So it's not really kind of, unfortunately, people can. I understand people just wants to get a quick answer and they rely on those forums. But many times those forums or those pages, many times they are not lawyers who are writing. And the few lawyers who write there, many of them don't really working because they're pretty much kind of busy writing on those forums. So you cannot really rely on them, and oftentimes I see people arguing with me, but I saw this there. Well, good if you're getting just factual stuff, but if you're getting legal advice on those, you better stay away because it will turn against you. So how much time? I don't know how much time we have.
We have about 8 more minutes, and listeners, like I said, we have 8 minutes, so if you have any questions right now is the time that you can call and speak to Attorney Shah Peerally about your question. Immigration की हम बात कर रहे हैं. There's too much uncertainty in the air right now, so if you also have a question about your immigration status or your file, anything, you can call us right now on 510-657-1170. Your question could be about the case or the process, or if you just want to know how things work or run, call us 510-657-1170. Or if you'd like to get in touch with Attorney Shah Peerally's team after the show, you can call them on 510-742-5887, 510-742-5887. The website is peerallylaw.com. Office is in Newark, so you can make an appointment and either go visit or speak to Attorney Shah Peerally on the phone or have a virtual appointment. Attorney Shah, we have now 7 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for reminding people. And again, if you need help on any of the immigration matters, we talk about a lot of things, but you can call us like we do family petitions, parents petitions, marriage petitions, a lot of labor certifications, I-140s, EB-1 a lot, national interest waivers, U visas, asylums. We don't do many asylums, but we still do them. So bottom line, anything when it comes to immigration, we don't handle too many deportations, by the way, because it's right now it's really kind of too much work on us. But at the same time, if you need help, we can refer you to someone. At the same time, if you want to at least review your case or have a second opinion, you can also call us. We can help you because a lot of clients are mostly second opinion, or they want us to basically kind of back their attorneys in their case, so that because they're not very familiar with certain situations, so we can help you on that too. For example, people getting RFEs and they don't know their attorneys are too busy or are not familiar how to answer those, they contact us and we handle the case on that. So it is important that that you have this second opinion, because for one, if you're working with a company as such, the company lawyer will tend to look at the interests of the company. Remember that, because although they have kind of dual representation, most of the companies will want to protect the company because this is where the bread and butter is coming, right? So for you, it's good to have this second opinion, because if you talk to me, I'm not representing your employer, I'm representing you, so I can give you that second piece of advice that can ultimately give you a chance to do things better maybe for you. So I'm not saying for sure, but at least I can analyze it and look at other visas, like sometimes investor visas, sometimes national interest waiver, which is very interesting, and we'll talk about that next week. O1 visa, a lot of people ignore that visa. EB1, L1, you name it. There's so many other visas out there, so many other options that might be available. You don't even know about them because you didn't. It is unfortunately we are in a situation where people are really kind of over-informed, but at the same time they're under-informed. I have the same issue when it comes to things that it's not my expertise. I want to read, for example, about gardening, right? Someone will tell you, oh, do this. Another person will say, don't do that at all. And what do you do? And everybody is claiming to be an expert. The thing in this, unfortunately, when it comes to that, you're not going to go and pay an expert probably, because it's just amateur gardening, so you will do that. But when it comes to your life, your immigration matter, you need to have the best to help you. I'm not claiming to be the best, but our record speaks for itself, and we can at least give you that second opinion. So make sure that you do the right thing, and contact us if you need help, 510-742-5887. Now, going back to the other situation I was talking about earlier is, as you know, I was talking about the H4 and the U visa. A lot of people have contacted me and say, you know what, it's very unfair because many H4 comes here and then they get mistreated. Not many, but a few get mistreated, and then they get stuck. They don't have anything to hold on to because after their spouse leaves them, and that applies for men and women, okay? And the spouse leave them, they pretty much have to either move to a student visa or have their own H1B, and some cannot get it. They should have something they can hold on to, because then they end up by maybe losing their kids, etc., etc. So we are hopefully one day we're going to, once things calm down, we'll try to push the government maybe to do like H4 ED, what we did, at least give them some kind of deferred status so that they can stay here. And that's going to be something that we wanted to talk about probably in more details maybe in the coming months. But I've been called by many people who are actually going through this, and they want that help. At least the government should give them something they can stay here at least, because they're giving them a work permit as abused spouses, but they're not giving them any legal status here to stay. That's the counterintuitive part. You're giving them a permit to work, but they're not legal. That doesn't really make sense. So I don't know how much. I think we have 2 minutes more to go, right?
Yes.
So let's just recap. I just wanted to tell people, that right now we are in a transition time, quote unquote, and we don't know how things are going to unfold, except from what we're getting from the Biden administration. A lot of good things are coming, a lot of goodies, and we're hoping this will come to alleviate a lot of the pain that people have suffered over the years, plus also with the COVID. Now, having said that, there will be a lot of difficulties also for his administration, because a lot of things are happening in the next 60 days. Trump is still in power for 60 days, and if you look at the website of the USCIS, every single day there's a new thing coming up. It was already like that for a while, but now it's probably worse, because sometimes 2 things are coming up. You can barely keep up. He's changing this, changing that. Some are for the better, some are for the worse. Most are for the worse, unfortunately. So you need to be ready. You cannot just go there and think, okay, this is going to slide through. It's not, because things are changing. So make sure that you talk to a good attorney if you need help. Please give us a call, 510-742-5887. And again, anything I told you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. We'll be back next week, same time with Ira. And I think, Ira, that's it. Anything further?
No, that's about it. Thank you, Attorney Shah. And yes, when you said that listeners, any case that you have, especially legally, you should have an attorney or a professional take a look at it and let them deal with it rather than make a mess and then go to somebody to fix it. It will cost you more time, more resources, more money, everything. Attorney Shah, thank you for being here. I will see you again actually tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow on Thursday at 12 o'clock, and you'll be there as a part of the panel, so I'll see you tomorrow.